Gardener of foliac prose, word eternally in bloom, beauty grown with every stroke of the pen, endless genius in perpetual rose. A green-thumbed philosopher born from wordy obscurity, a mind sharper than the points he sets into play. Yet as each day becomes yesterday, his mind steps closer and closer to disarray. Memory and mimicry of the men who came before, the same cross that his father and his father had bore. Madness of the grandest magnitude. Despite all the visits to the whetstone, his dulling is still inevitable. What once came so easily is now congenitally invaluable. Plenty of seeds to share, yet fingers tied for the ware. Thoughts that sprout aplenty, contrasted by action ever wilting. Insanity brought about by both heredity and the fading ability to relinquish his vocabulary. As his literature becomes sparse, so too does his meaningful thoughts. Implicitly immune from his father's ails, spored by conduct that didn't seem would fail, but betrayed like a thirst-hungry rose being struck down by faded hail. Fallen to fester on fate's fallowed field, sullen from nectar it could still spend to yield, the loss of his love through the loss of his mind, a lifetime in practice and a moment left behind. Yet, as the sun sets on an ebbed intellect, and petals dwindle past the count of singular, he is given a passing moment to reflect, as his consciousness is given a second to linger. On a life spent well, gleefully given in pursuit of his craft, brimming with a bit of both heaven and hell, but despite it all, still finds reason enough to laugh. His callous replaced with contentment, his sadness relieved of resentment, the pain of the encroaching ending traded for the joyous frolic of the journey. Happy he had an hour in his heyday, happy he had a life worth losing, that he had a life worth missing. Instead of finding relief in its finish, find its very existence as something to relish. And as the blanket of disillusion and disassociation lays to rest a man freed from his odious pest, he can gleefully give a gracious grin in the face, and in spite of the fate that brought him end, that in the act of catching the abyss staring back, he can send a sneer that inflames fear and Asamatos's lack. The harbinger of man's defeat gets a taste of his vulnerable grief, to give a splinter to the puppeteer, as a reminder of man's chagrin, to pull back on the strings so that God gets a taste of man's feeling, and so man gets a glimpse at God's subsequently.